Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Yak Gadget. For all your kayak fishing accessory needs, go to yakgadget.com. Pelican cases, coolers, and lighting. Go to pelican.com. The 153 Bait Company. For all your hard and soft bait needs, go to the 153anglers.com. Now let's get this show started.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Reel Down. Just me tonight. Got a little bit of a guest host in. Drew couldn't make it, and it may or may not be because he's out testing a new kayak. Maybe his new kayak everybody's been waiting on. But sorry I missed everybody last week. Work got in the way, and I will be out next week going to the beach. And I'll be honest, I don't want to think about this while I'm down there on the coast. But got a good show planned for tonight. It's a bunch of local guys. It's my local club, North Alabama Kayak Anglers. We had an event this weekend that's a little different than what most clubs do, and I'm going to let those guys that we bring on talk about it. We've got a couple of the winners, and one of the guys that's coming on, he did real well. Actually has a really fun / painful story that happened to him, and he's also one of the directors for the club. So we'll bring him in first, Mr. Dan Sasser.
Hey, what's going on, Jimmy? What's
up, man? How you doing?
Oh, man, I'm making it.
How's your leg?
It's okay. It's a little bruised, but it's all right.
How's your finger?
The finger actually was worse, but it's okay.
Always, man. Them finger injuries will tear you up.
Yeah, and it bled like a stuck hog.
Yeah. We've never had you on the show before. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into kayak fishing, and then you can also tell us how you're involved with NAKA.
Yeah, so I guess I've been kayak fishing now for like about 8 years. I started, I can't really do math, but it was sometime around 2013, so I guess I was 8 years. But anyway, so yeah, I started in 2013. I was in college and liked fishing, like waiting for fish and catching, spotted bass and largemouth. And I couldn't afford a boat. Had my eyes on like some, 10 boats and flat bottoms and stuff. And I was like, man, if I just had a plastic kayak, and back then it was like, I just knew what they had at Dick's Sporting Goods. So a buddy took me on a float that I worked with and lived in the same apartment complex as him. And I went the very next day and bought my first Pelican and thought it was like the Cadillac of all Cadillacs. So, but yeah, so that's how I really got into it. I didn't really start, getting involved with a local club much until I guess 4 or 5 years ago. Just kind of like fished on my own. But then got involved with NAKA, North Alabama Kayak Anglers, a couple years ago, and just fished the local stuff. And there I'm on the board of directors, and I kind of just help just do a little bit of everything, whatever they need me to do, but also assist with our monthly big bass online tournaments. It's just one bet, largest fish wins the whole month. So you fish it anywhere you want in North Alabama throughout the month, and then largest fish wins and pays out top, usually top 3 or so. So I help with that and just any other kind of small or large assistance. Just whatever I can do to help.
He's kind of like a cheap mule. He'll do just about whatever you put on his plate. But I forget that you've been in it so long. In my head, you hadn't been in it much longer than I have when I met you, because Dan kind of helped get me into it. My brother-in-law introduced me to it, and you and my brother-in-law are really good buddies. And the first time I got in anything that wasn't an Ascend was with you. I tried out your ocean kayak.
Yeah, Prowler.
Tried it? Prowler.
Yeah, it was Prowler.
Yeah, that actually, most uncomfortable seat in the world. Probably to this day, still the fastest kayak I've ever paddled. That thing would fly.
It would absolutely get up and go.
Yeah, didn't weigh nothing.
I kind of hated to sell it. It was a fun kayak to paddle, but after a few hours, it was not fun to paddle.
Yeah. Well, we'll do the quick story before we get Luke on here, so we can let Luke and Michael talk about their freaking awesome days they had. So you give us just a quick rundown of how. First off, we'll start before that. The trail is the river stop. Give us a rundown of what the river stop event means, kind of like how we do it.
Yeah, so our river stop basically it's a lot of our guys' favorite trail stop of the year, and we don't typically have it every single year. We kind of rotate it, but we've had it the last 2 years because it is a big favorite trail, and it really is kind of getting back to the roots of kayak fishing. So it's any public access legal water within the boundaries of North Alabama, and it has to be skinny moving water. Or some current at least. So it's got to be a creek, a flowing river. Basically, our rule is you have to be able to cast to either bank from the middle of the creek. So that's the rule. As long as you can access it, as long as it's not closed off, basically you can't cross over, man-made dams and things like that, but you can get out. Any of our tournaments, you can really get out and wade or pull over shoals or beaver dams or whatever. So that's the gist of it, really. At the top level,
and it's definitely different. We some of the clubs do river trail series, and even the paddle and fin trail. Right now, we've got some river stops in our event, but right. I never hear anybody do anything real skinny water dependent like this. Where just like you said, you have to have current, has to be actually skinny. Yeah. We have had a couple issues the last couple of years with rain, so they last minute had to change and open it up to all basically our big bass rules, all public waters in North Alabama.
Yeah. So we had some rain. We actually had the same thing happen last year. We had blowouts all across the state, and that is one unique thing about it is that because we are North Alabama Kayak Anglers, we cover for this tournament, at least, our rules, and for our big bass tournaments, you really can cover from Birmingham north to the Tennessee state line, east to Georgia, and west to Mississippi. Any public water is fishable, skinny water. So it really opens it up to people across the state, at least the northern part of the state. And same thing with big bass. So we try to get a lot of people to participate, with that, and it gives you a lot of options to fish too, instead of being constricted to one area with a lot of people, because we don't want to pressure those fisheries too bad.
That's the one thing us North Alabama guys hold tight to our chest. So we don't like even with one of our guests tonight, Luke. We were talking earlier, and I mentioned, "Oh, y'all are down there near this," and he said, "Kinda." We keep those spots true and dear to us
within 20 miles. So
yeah. I'm in North Alabama. That's all you need to know.
Kind of over in this corner, maybe, but.
See, I usually tell you I'm in that corner, and then I'm over here in this corner. Keep everybody guessing. But so give us a rundown of your day, and I've got some pictures here to screen share. Just tell us how your day was going, and then what happened.
See, I think our line's in time this weekend was like 5:30. I traveled about an hour to get to my spot, and I still fish skinny water for this tournament because that's what I hold near and dear to my heart, and that's what I like to fish, and that's my favorite thing to do. So that's what I wanted to go do. So I kind of stuck to my plan. Just kind of did a solo thing where I put in, and I was just going to float down and wade back and do that a couple times. So our line's in, I think it was around 5:30. I got on the water probably around 6 or so. I kind of took my time, stopped and got a biscuit, a little bologna biscuit on the way in. But so I just kind of took my time getting started. I got started about 6 o'clock. Took me probably till 6:30 or so to catch my first fish. Caught a little small spotted bass. Thing was like 10.5 inches. And I was like, well, I know how today's going to go. It's like any other time. So just kind of kept going about my way, floated down a little bit, got into some more current, some bottlenecks and things like that. Got into some eddies and things, and ended up catching like I think it's a 17.5 smallmouth, and just a rocket of a fish, man. And caught it, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a good sign. So I got down the creek, caught a couple other small fish. I think I caught like a 14 or 15, something around there. So I had a limit at this point. And then I caught one fish. It was like a 14, 15, something like that, smallmouth. And I went to measure him, and or actually I was trying to get the hook out of his mouth. I was using treble hooks. Went to get the hook out, and he spawned me and actually broke off the spine actually broke off into my thumb, and I've never had that happen before. Yeah, you got the picture right there, and that's not actually the thumb that it went in, but you can see how big that spine is. Yeah, it's pretty significant.
That thing looks mean too.
Yeah, I should have sent you the picture of the fish that did that, because you could actually pick out the one that broke off. But
I'd ate him.
I'll send it to you later. But anyway, so that broke off my thumb. I had to pull off. This was probably around 8:15, 8:30, somewhere around there, and got that pulled out. Didn't it bled, man. Like, it bled a lot and it hurt, and I didn't have anything to really dig into my thumb with. So I found an unused hook in my box, and I sterilized it, and I just kind of dug in my thumb for a little while to get the rest of it out, and then had to patch it up. I had some bandages and stuff with me, and cleaned it up real good. So
Got shanked by a smallie.
oh man, he did a really good job of it too.
He didn't do as good job as the next one did.
No, so I got down a little farther and was still catching fish. Next, I went down the next little rapid or shoal and caught a really pretty 19.25-inch smallmouth. So I was like getting really excited. I was like, man, okay, maybe I can actually have a good bag today. Usually have, one good fish and two small fish, or a really good fish and a decent one and a really small fish.
Yeah.
Because our tournaments are 3-fish stringer, except for our classic. So always looking to get 3 good fish. So got that one measured, lost like a 17 right at the boat. He kind of struck right as soon as I was reeling in, and tight lined me, so I missed him. But I kept catching fish, man. So it was a really good day. About 9 o'clock, a little after 9 o'clock, something like that, hooked into another smallmouth. Got him up in the boat, and of course he had 2 hooks in him. I think one kind of hooked around like his fin, and then the front hook actually kind of got in his mouth. So usually with like treble hooks, I like to use fish grips, because I don't want to risk getting a treble hook in me. But that's foreshadowing.
Yeah. I was just about to say that.
so anyway, I got him up, got the fin down, had him gripped with my hand, being really careful because I didn't want to get another fin in me. And I got the back hook out of kind of the side, and I went to get the front hook out. And then when I did, he shook really hard. I lost control, and he smacked my leg, and that back hook went into my leg. So,
and that's in there.
It was really in there, and everybody was telling me, like, man, you should have done the braid trick. Well, I don't have braid with me, for one. Maybe I should put that in my kit to take with me from now on. And number 2, I was not close enough to anyone or anything that I was willing to risk messing something up when I've never done that treble hook trick before, they call it, I guess.
Man, I wish I'd been floating with you. I would have loved to have been the guy to yank that bad boy out.
Boy, I pulled on it a couple times, and I was like, nah. But the bad thing is I had that hook in my leg, and I had the other hook still in the fish's mouth. So I was just not in a really good situation at 9. It was 9:30, somewhere around there in the morning. So to make a long story even longer, I got the hook out of his mouth because he, for some reason, decided to participate this time. Got it out, measured him just in case it wasn't right. Put him back in the water, and I messed with it for a little while, and I was like, you know what? The best thing for me to do is to paddle out to the main river, which was, I don't know, Jim, you know where I was at. That's a couple miles probably.
Yeah, it's 2 miles.
So I called a couple buddies that live out in that area, and finally got a hold of a couple guys, and they were able to meet me down at the main river, main lake, and I paddled out there, and they picked me up, and I just went to the urgent care and had them dead in that thing and rip it out for me. So I made sure they saved the bait, though, because I wanted to put a new hook on it because it was catching a lot of fish that day.
Oh, did you not ever take it off the split ring? You just left the whole thing dangling?
Yeah, I let it do that because I didn't have my split ring pliers with me either, so another lesson learned.
Yeah.
And, I left them with my other tackle bag that I take out here to my neighborhood pond. And anyway, so I didn't have those with me, and I tried to mess with it, sitting on the tailgate of my buddy's truck when he picked me up. And I turned it, and the barb turned. It just, I didn't want to mess with it. I was like, you know what? I'll just wear this jewelry proudly.
Yeah.
and I'll march into the medical care and let them take care of it. So.
Well, either way, man, you were having a really good day. You ended up 10th overall, didn't you? Yeah. 51 inches for 3 fish, which is, that's a good day either way. Like we said, though, the tournament got opened up from skinny water only to any public water in the lake. So we actually had some guys straight hammer on them that day. And here is the winner, Mr. Luke Turner. We're still waiting on second place. He had a work dinner, but he should be jumping in with us here in a minute. But what's up, Luke?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Pretty good, man. Glad you could join us. Sorry we ran it so long, but I like that story. Second time I've heard it, it was enjoyable.
And I don't tell stories very short either, so.
I knew it'd be colorful.
Well, yeah.
But Luke, this is the first time we've had you on. Why don't you tell everybody about you and how you got into fishing and whatever?
So yeah, I'm Luke Turner from Marsh, Alabama. Like everybody else, I've been fishing all my life. There's just one problem. My dad didn't like bass fishing. He loved to brim fish. So I didn't get into bass fishing till I was about 11 or 12 years old when my sister married my brother-in-law, and he was a bass fisherman. So that's pretty much how I got into fishing. So.
Well, that's awesome. Well, he just jumped in here. Well, perfect timing. This is second place, Michael Putman. What's up, man?
What's up, guys? How are y'all?
How you doing?
Good. Just got home from a work dinner, so it's been a long day.
I hear you. I appreciate you giving us some time, man.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys asking.
Yeah, I hate that you missed Dan telling his story about shanking himself with crankbait.
I saw the picture. I've been there. I know the feeling, but I saw the picture.
Well, Michael, this is your first time on the podcast as well. Give everybody a rundown of who you are and how you got into kayak fishing.
Oh, geez. So Michael Putman started fishing when I was probably 10 or 11 years old. I was fortunate enough to have a lake down the street from my house. We walked down and fished it all the time, as much as we could. It's got a little older. I bought my first boat when I was probably 20 years old, a little flat bottom with probably the best running Mercury 25 horse that you could get. I fished out of it until I probably replaced the deck and the carpet in that thing 3 times while I had it. Fished my first tournament out of it. Started upgraded to a bass boat and just didn't like it. Like I was spending so much money in gas and spending so much to enter tournaments that it just wasn't a lot of fun to me. And I started reading about kayak fishing, and guy loaned me a kayak one time, and I put it in my pool and flipped out of it 2 or 3 times just trying. And knew then that I kind of wanted to take a try at that. So I actually cashed in some PTO at work and found a feel-free lure that I wanted and bought it, and here we are.
I think 3 of us here have been in that boat. Because I know Luke.
That's my first boat.
Mine too.
I was about to ask that question, but now that's been answered. So
sorry.
I was just curious.
Yep. But Michael, you've been part of NAKA for a pretty long time, and you also participated in some of the Bass Nation State stuff. You went to the Classic this year, didn't you?
I did. Got fortunate there. I actually finished just outside of where I needed to, but a couple of the guys who finished ahead of me had already qualified. So I remember you calling me while I was at work and asking me if I wanted to go, and I was no way I was turning that opportunity down. That was on my list, and man, what a great time that was. Like, we had a ball.
You had a pretty good story about your trip out there, right? I mean, you had
holy cow.
You had some problems.
So I drove out, drove all the way out to Texas, started pre-fishing. I pre-fished with Randall Wallace and Michael Cooper, and we felt pretty good about what we found. And I noticed as we're pedaling, or I have a Hobie now, I was pedaling back in, and my drive wasn't right. Like every time I'd turn my 360 and it would get hung and just bad off. So I got it out of the water and got it back to my room, started working on it, and it completely failed. So made a few calls back home, talked with the guys down at the dugout, and they put me in contact with a company out in Dallas called Mariner Sales. And I drove. So Possum Kingdom Lake was about 2 hours and 20 minutes from Fort Worth, Dallas area. So I got up the second day of practice and just took off. Drove all the way into Dallas that morning. Those guys were great, man. They took my boat. They met me in the parking lot, pulled my boat off the trailer for me, took it into their shop, and about 3.5 hours later, they wheeled it back out and said, it's good to go. Fixed the drive belt for me. Everything was covered under the warranty. So, I mean, I didn't have any stress. I mean, I missed that day of practice, but other than that, man, they took care of my boat.
Some good service.
On the water. And I'm telling you, it was fantastic.
Kayak pit crew.
It was too, man. It was great. They really did take care of me. So,
and that was the day before the tournament started?
That was the day before the tournament started. That was the Tuesday before we were allowed to practice. I think Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. I actually used Sunday to drive out. So I practiced Monday and didn't even get to look at the water on Tuesday. Lines out was at 2:00 on Tuesday. So, I mean, I walked down from my room and looked at how muddy the water was, and that was it. So,
oh yeah, it flooded real bad that week, didn't it?
Oh yeah,
it was something. So.
Well, again, glad to have you, and we'll let's get into this. We kind of already went over what the river stop normally is, and that because of the rain that we had to open it up a little bit. So, Luke, we'll start with you. Before you tell us how your day went, just give me a brief rundown of like what your mindset was going into it, and then when they opened it all up, what changed.
So yeah, we're just gonna do a creek float. It's gonna be me, Sam, Frank, Jason. We had a little creek in mind. That's gonna be about 6.5 hours. And then about 8:30 Friday night, they opened it up, and I'm out there getting the creek boat out and putting the big boat in. Texted them. I was like, "Hey guys, I don't mean to abandon y'all, but I think I can win this thing." I was like, got this big fish lake. All I got to do is run into them.
And that you
like,
did.
Yeah, man, we understand. I was like, yeah, but I hate to abandon y'all. Because, I mean, it looked like a fun float, even though 2 hours after line's out, they were still
floating. They might even still be floating. Like,
yeah, I don't even know where they are. I haven't talked to them since.
That's crazy. But you made I'll throw the numbers up here in a minute. It was definitely a good call on your part.
Yeah.
And Michael, what about you? What was your mindset, the night before, right up until they changed it, and what'd you change?
I mean, the truth is I could echo Luke, hands down. I had a creek in mind. I have a particular creek over around Florence that I love to fish. It's full of, the spots and smallmouth that you want to be in a creek. But it started raining. I was sitting up at the kayak store trying to find some pink Ned rigs, and it started raining while I was there. And I was like, man, if it doesn't stop, like we're in trouble. And I knew my creek would blow out. So
yeah,
as soon as they opened it up, I didn't even pull my creek boat out. I hooked the Hobie up, and I knew exactly what I was doing. I was going to a lake. So yeah.
I hate that I didn't participate. I was signed up, and I was like, I didn't listen to the weigh-in, or I'm sorry, the meeting and the identifier release, and I was getting set up kind of late, and I got all my, like, where I'm going, Michael, you know a little bit about it. I was going extremely light, making sure I took my shotgun for the snakes. Like, I wasn't playing around. So I did all this gear consolidation, got everything down. I was taking reels off this rod, swapping them up. And then I went back, and right as I'm listening to the video, Dan texted me and said they opened it up like last year, and I just got mad. And I was like, man, I don't have time. I was already sleep deprived. I was like, man, I don't have time to reset. So I just texted the director, just send me my money back. I was like, there's no chance my creek is fishing really good right now, but it's not fishing 60 plus inches good. Like, I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure it was mid 50s, but I don't know. It just, that just like took the wind out of my sails, and I just didn't even want to do it anymore. But y'all had an excellent day. I'll go over the numbers, and then we'll get into how y'all's days went. So Luke big bagged everybody with 64 inches in 3 fish, which is freaking, like Dan said it
I've
earlier.
never done that before. Never. I'll probably never do it again.
Hey, it's time to retire, man.
It is. I had 101.5 inches for the day out of 5 fish.
Jeez. Aren't you sad that there's no monthlies going on right now? Like, throw up 100, throw up a 23, no other tournaments going on that it counts in. And then
We got one in
Mike-
September though.
it's too late now. He caught him
What
too
I'm
early.
saying.
Because now Jesse's going to go catch him. But Michael, you were right behind him with 61 and a quarter, and you led. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. Jason Moore was third place with also, he had 61, so you edged him out. Jason led most of the day. Michael came around him, I think around lunchtime is when I saw you jump him with a quarter, and then the standings went offline. And I know that Luke is a sandbagger. I knew
I
that
really didn't sandbag this time. I really didn't. No,
This time.
I sandbagged the 21. And then once I caught that 23, I was like, yeah, I'm not sandbagging anymore.
No,
I'm gonna throw
gotta
this
tell
out there.
everybody.
And then when I loaded it up and I went to look at the standings, they'd already turned them off. I don't know what time they turned them off. So
Yeah.
I was like,
That's great.
But yeah, I was saying it when they went off. I was like, man, Luke's the only guy I'm wondering that'll, jump around. And then when they popped back on, I was like, sure enough. But 64 inches, like, I don't. Michael, you've been with NAKA for a while. Has anybody ever put 64 up in one of our tournaments?
Biggest one that I can remember, at least off the top of my head, was 63 on a Wilson stop about 3 years ago. I believe.
Wow, on Wilson.
I think it was 63. I think it was Richard Woodruff,
Oh yeah.
something like that. I mean, had like 321s.
Wilson and Pickwick are his.
Man,
Like, we're probably all lucky that he doesn't fish. He doesn't have time to fish our tournaments anymore because I think he's the only person that repeat won a stop. He repeat won Pickwick in the same spot. Like,
yeah. I mean,
he's good.
I remember because several of the guys I was fishing with that day had 58, 59. I mean, I think Matt
Feeling
Nix
good.
and Lane had caught, like, both of them had caught 21 sitting right beside each other, and we get in and they say Matt's name is second place, and I was like, ouch.
Yeah.
And, they call out Richard Woodruff. He was 63, and that's what I thought. I mean, when I had 61 and a quarter, I was like, this is pretty solid. Like I know that someone can dance around this number. Like I've been going back and forth with Jason and I forget the other guys, McGowan, Coley. Yeah. So I've been going back and forth with them all day long, and to hear at the ramp that I had been bumped out of first with somebody with 64 inches, man, all I could do was congratulate that. Like, good for you.
Go
like,
big.
Yeah. Like, great job, man. What do you say? So,
Speaking
hey,
of
it was a blessing. I'm sure I'll never accomplish that again. I'm 100% sure.
speaking of sandbagging, I actually got a text Saturday from Beaver, and he was like, hey man, so did you forget your rods at home or something? I was like, no, why? He was like, you must be sandbagging then. I was like, no, actually I'm getting a hook pulled out of my leg right now.
No, I'm in the ER. I'll call you back. Well, that's we're gonna have to get Nate to do a little fact check. I need to know if Luke's the reigning big bag holder for NAKA, because that's a killer accomplishment. So let's get into how. Go ahead.
I'm just in NAKA for the door prizes.
Yeah, we all are, man.
That's the motto.
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody that ever comes through North Alabama, you're more than welcome to come fish with us. There's no fees other than your entry fee, no club dues or nothing like that. Yeah. And anybody that's ever fished in our state with us will tell you that our giveaways are normally top notch, and that's the only reason you're there. Like, if you zero, still come to weigh in, have a little food.
Exactly.
And go home with, like, this year they're giving away a Hobie just if you fished an event. Like, doesn't matter how you did. Last year, what they give away like $500.
Oh, I won the $500 2 years ago. Won
Oh, that's-
$500 and zeroed that day. Like I told a guy I'm going home. He was like, "Well, don't forget about the cash drawing." And I was like, "You know what? You're right.
Actually,
let me ease with you."
I got the 250 that day. That was at top of the river, right? We did that.
Yeah.
I got the 250.
Yeah,
I was like, well, that kind of makes up for all my entry fees.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, fish for free this year. Good job.
Hey,
Yep.
and speaking of door prizes, like I know it's a different tournament, but saying Jimmy, you're just talking about zeroing and getting a door prize. Like I'm not ashamed to admit it. I zeroed on Gunnersville a couple tournaments ago, and I walked away with an SLX rod. So
There you go.
Oh,
Come to NAKA, go home with some cool stuff.
That's right.
Well, let's get into how y'all's tournament days went. So we know how y'all's changed it up. Without telling us where y'all were, because I'll be protective on this show too, because these are all local waters to me. Describe what kind of fishery you were at, vegetation, rock, stuff like that, and tell us how your day went. We'll let you go, Michael.
Mine was matted grass. I mean, just thick and nasty. Deepest water I fished was maybe 12 feet. I posted a picture on my Facebook, I think last night, of how much they were swallowing a frog.
That makes me so excited.
Yeah, it was just frog fishing. Give a little more detail when we go, but mats and hydrilla and thick grass. I mean, it's what I love. So,
did you get on them real early, or did you kind of fight for it all day? How'd it go?
No, it started at, I think my first time stamp was 555. My second time stamp was 557 or 558. And it was that way all day. I mean, I probably had a 51 inch limit by 8 o'clock. As the sun started coming up, I had to adjust a little bit. The pattern didn't really die; it just kind of moved. At first, they were kind of 2 or 3 foot into the mat. As the day went on, the bigger fish moved out towards the edge of the mat. Anything that was kind of, the mat would go and stop with 8 or 10 to 12 feet of water next to it. You could almost call your shot.
Wow.
And it was that way all day. The only thing that changed, I caught a 21 3/4 at about 12:15. That was the last frog fish I caught, and she choked it. I mean, I had to pliers to get the frog out of her mouth. It was a deep bite. It was fun. I had a little audience when that one happened, so there was some pretty colorful exchange of words that took place. But
I'm sure
that one was pretty entertaining. And then from there, I took a like a 10 or 11 inch green pumpkin power bait worm, and I backed off of the mats about 25 or 30 feet and just started working that worm through the sporadic grass out on the edge, and culled up a 18 with a 20 and did that for the rest of the day. Caught 3 or 4, maybe even 5 more fish. I mean, I probably caught 25 fish Saturday. My bite was consistent all day long. I couldn't have asked for a better tournament day.
And I think the weather actually helped a lot of that. With the hurricane and the Gulf Stream and everything, well, not hurricane, it's a tropical storm, Fred or Frank or something like that, blowing off the coast. That's something that I thought was going to be key for the bite being good, was that the rain was coming in, but I didn't think we were going to see a big pressure change.
Yeah.
And I didn't check it, but I don't think there was. And just keeping up with everybody all day, like there were tons of good fish caught. I mean, a lot of our tournaments, you'll still see people fall off of the 50s, usually right outside of the top 10, and 50 inches carried all the way till 18th place.
Yeah.
And I mean, just everybody was having a good day. A bunch of 17 and up fish caught. There were a couple of people that had a 20 in their bag and, just a couple of dinks, like tons of good fish. But give me a rundown on your frog setup. Like, what frog do you use and what's your gear behind it?
So I throw a Spro Frog 99% of the time. I actually have it somewhere in my boat right here. I'm actually sitting on my boat, but spro frog. I like the shad color. If it's, just normal, just think about Gunnersville, that type of water. If it's, kind of stained, I like the shad, or I'll go to a straight black. I like for mine to have some wear on them. So like, it's not uncommon for me to leave them just kind of laying in my boat. I know that sounds a little strange, but leave them laying in my boat, let them get a little sun fade to them. I throw all of them on a Dobbins 735, just a Dobbins Fury rod.
Best
I was
frog rod.
losing a ton of fish last year on a frog, like literally hated frog fishing last year. And I finally just, talking to some of the guys in the club and reading about it, I switched to the Dobbins, and I hadn't looked back. That was the best move I made.
Dobbins should sponsor the North Alabama Kayak Anglers, because I bet you 30% or more of our guys own at least one of them. Like, that's how I found out about them, and that's now. I work with that company now, and that's the only rods I use. I love their rods.
Yeah, I'm 4 deep now, 4 or 5 deep. The only one I don't really fish a Dobbins on is probably my spinning setup, but I love them, especially the frog setup. I couldn't ask for. It's got the power when I want to set the hook as hard as I can, and I know I'm sitting on top of a mat. I don't stress about it. I pop them, and I hadn't lost many frog fish since I switched to the Dobbins rod. I throw a Corrado DC for my reel. It's just a good rod. I don't have to kind of switch to that. Probably 2 tournaments ago, I fished with Luke and Jesse and them for the Coleman stop on Flint Creek, and I knew that I was going to be skipping a frog under all the laydowns and treetops and stuff like that on Flint Creek.
I can definitely say I haven't skipped a frog.
Well, when you get on Flint Creek, if you ever do, it's full of laydowns and overhanging brush, and there's about a foot that if you can get it in there, you can catch fish, just plain and simple. And I switched to the DC for that tournament stop, and that was a good move. It worked. It'll be my frog reel moving forward. The only thing I probably do a little different is I like to throw it on 40-pound braid. I don't actually throw it on 65 or something like that. I think that 40 gives me a little more castability, gives me the ability to skip when I want to, can make a little bit longer cast with it. So, and I know there will come a day when that decision doesn't pay off real well. But for now, it works.
No, yeah.
So,
no, without a doubt, man. I think the 40, 50, 65 range, it just depends. I think they're all really, really strong, solid braids in those weight ranges. It's really just what are you wanting out of it, you know? And I agree with you. I back down to 50 when I'm trying to bomb a cast at some of the places that have looser mats. But I keep that 65 for when it's right on me. Because we all know, we're all from Alabama. We've all caught fish on Gunnersville or in the thick mats at a local watering hole around here that when you hook, you just reel yourself to it. You don't, there's no getting it to you.
Yeah.
Well, killer day, man. Congrats on that. We'll move on to Luke. I want to hear about your day, man. Talk me through that's your first 100-inch day, right?
Oh yeah.
That's century mark, man. That's something to sit on, dude. Good job.
So my best day before that was probably 95 or so. So yeah, it started out kind of slow for me. Trying to get them to eat that plopper in the morning and the buzz bait. I had a boat in front of me. I messed around at 2 places and tried to catch fish. I went upriver. The boat was sitting in a spot. I was like, man, I know I can get an 18 off there. I watched them for just a second. I was like, they're not fishing that right. So I'm just going to go way upriver to a spot that I know. Ended up getting, I think my first fish was a 10. and then the second fish.
Speaking my
I remember on the plopper, was a 1850. No, I'm sorry, it was a 20. That was at 6:45 in the morning. So I really didn't. I only caught one fish before that, so it was kind of slow. And then sun comes up. They're not even looking at the plopper or the buzzbait. Start with the jackhammer around some weed edges, looking for that moving bite. I called one after that. I get going down the bank. The sun's coming up more and more, and I'm still throwing a jackhammer. And I finally get a bite, and I was like, "All right, the sun's up. The sun's on this bank." I was like, "If I can duplicate this with a jackhammer, we're gonna have a good time." And that bite just never materialized. So I go all the way back down the lake. I'm fishing jackhammer. I'm fishing shaky head, spinnerbait, anything you can think of. Go all the way back down to my put in, turn around and come back, hit the same spots again. And this is pretty late. I mean, it's getting 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock. And I'm on a point. I was like, I'm not getting anything on this point like I need to. I know these fish are here, so I backed way off of it. And I was making some bomb cast up there with the Magnum shaky head. And sometimes I was working at 2+ minutes a cast. I mean, I was just soaking it. And if I didn't get hit, I'd reel it back in.
Yeah, I would have lost my
Yeah, dude.
2 minutes.
I'd already moved on.
I can do that in the winter with a drop shot, but I can't not do that with a shaky head.
I mean, you can when you're catching 20, so.
Yeah.
But see, I'd have gave up before that happened, so I'd never know.
Soaking it. I got that 21. And then, I mean, I've caught 18s, 19s. I mean, it's a bad day when you're trying to call a 19, right?
Terrible.
What's that?
I was like, I'm not going to take this.
What's that like?
I went to the other side at this point. I mean, I was working it from all areas, and I get a pretty big boy coming in with me, and I'm, largemouth. They don't. I mean, they pulled some drag and stuff, but it's not like no river spot that I love to catch. But he's pulling some drag, and I know it's a big boy. I get him up, get him on the board. I'm yelling. I mean, woo! I mean, there ain't nobody around. Nobody can hear me.
So you didn't have any other kayak guys end up out there with you?
No. I had one boat guy, and we played hopscotch up the river, and just nothing was. It was sporadically producing, but I just wasn't on them until, like I said, I had to just run into them about 2:30, 3 o'clock. And they were on that point, and they were schooled up, and they were big, and they were pretty upset. They didn't want to come in that net.
Yeah, we said the total's 64 inches, but for anybody wondering, he had a 23 that anchored that, a 21 and a 20, and you said it yourself, trying to cull 19s and stuff like that. Man, that's just such a bad day of fishing.
Looking back on that 23, I was so excited. I think I could have got 23 and a quarter out of it.
Same. I caught one at Pickwick a month ago that I was just like, click, 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 threw it back, and then was like, oh, damn, he was a lot longer than that,
You
but
weren't far off of getting that 1/4 inch either. I'm looking at the picture right now, and you weren't too far.
I know.
Yeah,
I could have
saw
just.
it too. It was close.
The eye on that thing. I mean, it's giant.
How deep of water were you catching him in?
Oh, I had to back way off. I was sitting in about 25 feet, casting a 12.
Whew. Also, wouldn't have caught those fish anyway. Nope.
Well, see,
I would have went between you and kept going.
I haven't done that yet this year. We've been skinny water fishing, or I've been on a jackhammer bite, and I've never had to do that yet this year until this tournament. I mean, I'd much rather catch him on a spinnerbait or a jackhammer than soaking a shaky head in 20 foot of water. That sucks, dude.
It's tough, especially when it's 100 degrees outside and you're sitting in, because there's no shade at that area.
Oh yeah, there's shade. Called a Versa umbrella.
I
Get
never
them on
watched
Amazon.
I saw that.
Yeah, attach it to your seat. That was a lifesaver. Ain't no way I could have stayed out there that long.
You know, I used to
And I went
hate
to
on folks with that, but
14
I need
water
one.
bottles also.
Jesus. Oh, man, I take like 3 with me and just hope for the best. If it gets that bad, I'll just start drinking lake water. Like, I'll take my chances. Well, that's
That's a
crazy,
good
man.
idea.
You had a killer day. Tell me before we move on, what's your shaky head setup?
So I was fishing. I like the VMC rugby jig.
Hmm.
I was fishing some Zoom. What's it called? The Magnum shaky head. And
I couldn't remember. They got.
yeah.
I think that's right.
So I ran out of them,
Jesus.
and I'm looking. Yeah, because I mean I'm like most disorganized tackle. Like I looking at the back of your screen, you got all that stuff on the back there. I don't have all that. I just have what I have in my kayak, and then I've got panfish stuff, and then I have saltwater stuff, and then I have inshore stuff. I don't keep a stock really. So the only other thing I have is these Magnum shaky worms and these VMC 3/0 hooks on this 12-inch worm. And I was like, well, let's try this.
That right there lets you know they were eating it good, though.
Oh, they are.
If they're covering 9 inches of worm to get that little 3/0 hook.
That's what she said. Yeah.
I love it. What's your rod and reel setup behind it?
That one is a Phoenix Ultralight.
That was probably a really good
So that was
rod
interesting.
bender then. 23.
Yeah, that Phoenix Ultralight. It is a awesome rod. Like I tried a Dobbins for worm fishing. I don't guess I got the right one because it's got I thought it had too much bend, so I've used it for my spinnerbait now, and it is awesome. That Phoenix Ultralight's good, and of course I use Lew's and Cigar and Vizex 10-pound line. So
Jeez, man. I'd have broke it off. If I had ever lined up all the stars, been fishing in that deep of water, soaking a worm for 2 minutes, it all ended when I broke it on 10-pound line. I'd have seen it, it'd have broke it. I'd have stabbed myself in the head with a shaky head. Been like old Dano over there.
That's the heaviest line I go unless it's braid.
Wow.
And then I run 30-pound braid.
I'm a 12-pound.
I don't know when the last time I bought a 10-pound spool of line was.
I don't own one.
I don't either. I mean, I have some for my finesse stuff, but that's it.
I bought 8-pound one time for drop shot, broke off 5 times, and was like, screw that, I'll never try this again. And then Dan is the old school fisherman. Dan, I want to know about your creek setup stuff a little bit too, because it was a river stop, and everybody that hits the river or hits the creek does it a little different. So what were you catching them on?
So I was throwing
himself.
Yeah, well,
sorry.
Technically, I did have the biggest catch of the day. But
I mean, you're not wrong.
I couldn't fit. I can't fit on a catch water a hog trough. But no, so I mean, I took 3 rods with me. I usually carry like a Texas rig rod, spinnerbait, and then I'm throwing light crankbaits, wake baits, things like that. And I was throwing that on a All-Star Nano medium fast with a Rebo X on 12-pound mono.
So Dan is he's the guy that reels me back in. I get caught up in all the I need to try this, I need to try that, and then we'll go fishing, and I don't even have to ask Dan to hold up fish. But what'd you catch doing? Texas rig. I know. Hey, never mind. I'm like, Dan, you need braid. No, I don't.
I'll tell you, this is the first tournament. Actually, it's the first time I've been fishing in probably forever that I didn't have a Texas rig tied on. This was the first time. I actually text somebody and said, hey, if you believe this, you may or may not believe this, but I do not have a Texas rig tied on.
If you'd had one tied on, you probably wouldn't have shanked yourself.
If I had one tied on, I probably wouldn't have been catching fish too. So.
Also true.
Hey, let me go back to something. It's a Phoenix ultralight, but it's a medium heavy.
Okay. So that's.
I want to make sure I'm not using an ultralight rod worm fishing.
I was fixing to say, I'd like to see you wind that bad boy up and throw it.
No. Yeah, it's a Phoenix ultralight medium heavy.
Okay. In my head, I'm picturing that thing flexing like a fly rod, just loading up.
No. Yeah, I got to thinking about that, and I was like, well, I think they got the wrong idea of what I was using. I ain't trying to use a fly rod on a shaky head, so.
Well, y'all had awesome. It's cool. It was kind of 3 different ways of fishing. You're fishing like a summer pattern out deep. Michael was up in the slop doing my favorite kind of fishing on the frog. And Dan was back in the skinny water pulling like my partner Drew does, man, getting in that backwater stuff and really, really hammering on some river smallies. So going forward from that, what do y'all have coming up next? Because actually, Luke fishes with NAKA all the time, but he actually fishes with a couple of the other state clubs too, down closer to the central part of the state. So, Luke, what do you got going on?
I have
Check the calendar.
Iron City on Bankhead this weekend.
Nice.
Okay.
Bankhead Lake. So that's my next one. I'll be back in the creek boat.
And you're leading angler of the year in Coleman right now, right?
Yeah, I'm leading angler of the year in Coleman. I think I am, and I'm second in Iron City.
My man's doing work. And a little was that your kid that won last week, 2 weeks ago?
Yes, he beat me on Flint Creek. Yeah.
I know. Okay.
Yeah.
So shout out to Turner Jr. for showing
Evan.
Daddy what's up.
Yeah, Evan, he beat me.
That's awesome.
He seems pretty happy about it at weigh-in.
Yeah, I mean,
he did.
Hey, we got in the
I'm sure
car.
that was a
and I
long
like,
ride home.
well, we got in the car and I was like,
Gas money.
celebrate, dude, celebrate. He's like, I want to be humble. I was like, we're here together. You don't have to be humble. You can scream and shout. I mean, come
He
on.
did good too. That was a tough tournament actually. So
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, we were in the slop that day.
And you're qualified for state, aren't you, Luke? I mean, if you're running up in Angler of the Year, you're
Yeah, I mean,
basically got it.
I've been double qualified since probably 2019 every year. So
Not to brag or nothing, but double qualified.
You don't have to be either, so.
awesome.
What about you, Michael? What you got coming up next?
I'm just a tournament junkie.
I will
That's
give it
right.
to him. That dude is out somewhere in our state fishing every weekend.
Yeah.
He hits every tournament he can. Hats off to you, homie.
Yeah, no kidding. And to do solid in them every time, like your name's always up there on the top somewhere. So
Oh, sure.
yeah,
There's a certain friend of ours that I love that when he sees your name up top, it's like his driving force to do better. That's how I know that you're leading AOI, because he texted me and was like, our last tournament's at somewhere I've never fished, and I have got to beat Luke. But what you got coming up, Michael?
Okay.
So I fished the last 3 weekends in some sort of tournament. So I'm going to take a few weekends off from tournament fishing. I believe the next one that I will have will be the AOI championship for NAKA.
NAKA Classic.
The classic. Be on Wheeler, so 5 minutes from Wheeler where I live. I mean, I can be at the Flint Creek boat ramp in 5 minutes. Don't know that I'll fish there, but pretty excited about that one. Wheeler's always treated me pretty well. I enjoy
He's
fishing.
taken my money on Wheeler a couple of times.
well, maybe once or twice. So, but I would say you just got to throw. If you're fishing Wheeler in the winter, you got to be throwing a jerk bait. If you're not, you're going to get beat. That's all there is to it. So,
Bye, Michael.
Yeah, Michael's took my money every time, but this time I said Michael's took my money a bunch of times.
All right, I'm gonna stay humble, but thank y'all. It's nice to win a little money every now and then. I definitely enjoy it. Although I typically
dude.
come home and take my family out to dinner with it if I manage to pull it off. So,
What's that like?
Yeah, it's just another bill for us. There's
That's right.
nothing on the other end of it. It's always an expense.
You just throw it in the budget, and that was just
just toss it in there. Well,
yeah.
You say you're
maybe
taking
we can
off.
get some different water. But-
TVKA's coming down to Gunnersville this weekend with
geez,
like a
don't tell me
24-hour tournament, man. I think that
Don't.
me, you, and Randall and a couple of our guys to just team up, go night fish Gunnersville, and just put the smoke to those guys.
Don't say that to me.
Let's do it.
That would be pretty tempting. So if there ends up being a group message after this is over,
Hey, you hit me up because I'm telling you,
participate. So
you call up the Calvary because it's their classic. It's $60 entry, but if you haven't fished with them, it's just an extra $20. So it's kind of open. And they come down here, and some of the Tennessee guys will show us up on Gunnersville. I'd like to return the favor.
it's the time of year to do it. You don't
Yeah.
need but one or two rods. So
Gunnersville in
the only
August.
reason you need another rod is if you mess up one. So
That's right. Well, awesome.
After that, I think second place this week should have done pretty good for the Angler of the Year points for NAKA. So I hope to fish Smith in October.
Oh yeah.
More than anything, just as an opportunity to get back to the Classic. Man, that was so much fun. So
Yeah,
it's definitely on my to-do list every year now.
I've got some more information about the state tournament coming out this week. But yeah, Smith in October. Hope to see you there. Luke, you gonna make it?
Yeah, I should. Hope so.
Yep. I'd like to see some more of our guys, my buddies, go back to the Classic. I was super excited that how it all played out, that because we had some guys qualify from Tennessee, so they went with their Tennessee qualification, and that's how the spots rolled down to the Michaels, you and Cooper.
Yeah.
And I know you had hit me up, I think, or no, it was Cooper. I called you or I texted you. You were at work, and I was like, "Hey, I got to ask you something." And when I asked you, you were super excited, and that was cool. Like you were so excited.
Well, I mean, not only to fish for that type of money, but to fish on some sort of national level like that is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it's still relatively new, man.
It was a great opportunity. So,
and then
I loved every second of it.
It was the same thing with Cooper. Cooper texted me because he was the next slot down. He would message me probably like once every 2 weeks, be like, "Hey, man, anybody backing out? Need to roll a spot?" And then he finally stopped, and a guy did. I got a message from John Stewart with Bassmaster and was like, "You need one more." So I finally called him, and he was like stupid excited. But hopefully it happens again for y'all, and hopefully the Bassmaster thing stays around for a while, and we can do it every year. So
yeah,
I'm excited to see how that develops. Well, Dan, what do you got coming up? Did you gonna qualify for the Classic again this year and not go?
Yeah, I should for sure. Because we do our four trail stops. Your best three, you drop your worst one, which for me is Gunnersville. But I should qualify, and I plan to fish that September 11th. So, like Michael said, it's on Wheeler, and that's right at my back door. And I mean, I'm fishing Wheeler. Anytime I fish, like, where are you going? It's like, oh, you're going to Wheeler again, aren't you? So it's like,
yeah, Dan don't go too far. That's why I saw it when they posted it. I was like, hey, this plays to some of our favors.
Yeah, it's
convenient. So. I screwed myself up this year. I forgot how, and I don't want to take it away from it. If you show up and you catch a limit, I mean, as long as you don't catch like 3 dinks, you can usually qualify and stay in the top 20 in AOI. And I didn't think about that and skipped our third event and then read the AOI standings, and I was in 15th. And then I skipped that event and then didn't show up last weekend. So I'm out, but I won't be in town for the Classic anyway, so it's not a terrible loss. I'll be up in La Crosse. But yeah, big stuff coming up for the state. This is the time of the year it starts to get fun. with all the club classics and the state and everything. And it'll be, last year was the first year in a while the state championship moved off of the Coosa River. And honestly, I'm not too sure how well that was perceived with people. Did any of y'all fish state last year?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you think about Neely Henry?
Oh, we was on the creek. We was on a fast moving creek. Somewhere.
He loved it.
I love the Coosa River down there around Wetumpka.
Yeah. Coosa's a different animal,
Unless
man.
what was it, 2 years ago when it was rolling 64,000 CFS, came a flood the night before. I didn't float at that time. I didn't paddle up, so.
Yeah, I don't know. There wouldn't have been much floating. It had just been recovery at the other end of the river.
Yeah, I mean, all the rapids were gone, so I mean.
Yeah. Can't target nothing. Well, guys, it's been fun. It was cool. We have Nate and, I think it's just been Nate. We usually have Nate on every year. We do shows in the off season talking about the local clubs all over the country and stuff like that. And I was looking through a bunch of the other stuff trying to pick a show for this week, and there were a bunch of clubs that like Queen City had over 100 people, but they do 4 fish, and I think it took 60 inches to win that tournament with 4 fish. And it was terrible. And NAKA had some of the best numbers overall. And I couldn't believe that we hadn't had none of y'all on before, so I wanted to do that. And I appreciate y'all taking some time out to join us this evening. And
thank you.
No problem. Hopefully I'll have y'all on again. Maybe one of y'all holding the classic trophy or something like that. Go out there to the Carolinas and show out. But before we let everybody go, we always give everybody a chance to thank anybody that makes fishing easier for them, whatever that means to you. So Dan, you start.
Yeah, I'll just shout out Music City Outdoors. They've been gracious enough to let me join their team this year, and that's the first team they've had. So it's been fun kind of going through that with you, Jimmy, and just kind of seeing where that's going to grow. So definitely want to shout them out.
Yeah, man. What about you, Michael?
I'm sure Luke's going to say the same thing, but it's Tony Dean up at the kayak store. I'm fortunate over a lot of other guys. I literally live 3 minutes from Tony's shop, so I swing down and sit at the stools at his at his store and just chat for a couple hours a week, almost every week. For the classic, man, he brought in any bait that I requested. I'd come in a week later and it'd be sitting on his shelf. He'd have a little stack of them sitting behind for me. Right, so, man, dude, he took care of me. He takes care of me every time I go in that store. So I couldn't ask for anything better. And to be able to give him a shout out on this podcast and support him is fantastic. He really does take care of us.
He really, and with everybody knows that I work with Music City Outdoors, and they're a great company to the north of us. But Tony really does he is paving the way in our state for what a shop should be, how you should treat your people. I still go in there and hang out with him, and we bounce ideas off of each other, and I'll help him while I'm there if I can, just because, he's doing it with a full-time job, and it's a small shop that he's almost outgrown. That's a lot of what me and him talk about, are pondering ways to expand that store somehow so he doesn't have to move, because it's a cool shop, man. That little shop looks awesome.
It's neat. It's fun to be in there. My kids love going in there with us. They drive by a shop and blow the horn and yell "Mr. Tony," and they love it. It's great to have somebody so close. I know I'm,
yeah, it's like an old radiator shop or something.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like an old mechanic shop. It basically has a bar in it. For anybody listening, he's just got an L-shaped counter, but with the bar stools, and there have been a few adult beverages consumed at that store for sure. But I'll see if I can post a link for his information for anybody that's in the area or not. You can drive by and help you out, and I'll put Music City that me and Dan work with. Tony's helped us out a lot there too. People come in looking for a boat that he doesn't have currently or a company that he doesn't work with. He sends them up to us, man, and we try to do the same. He carries some stuff we don't, but not to take it away from you, Luke, man. Who helps you out, makes fishing easier?
Hey, man, I'd just like to, of course, the kayak store. I'd like to thank my wife for putting up with me and all my dumb buddies when we go out on the weekends.
That's the truth too.
all the gang crew, Sam, Frank, Jason, and Jacob, doing all our stupid stuff in the creeks that we do. So she puts up with me. The kayak store, of course. It's got what do they got? Yak Attack's doing their 15% off this whole month, and he just got a pile of paddles in.
Yeah, he did.
You need
I saw
a
his
pile.
post.
Yeah.
Which, for anybody listening, most of your dealers are struggling to get bending branches right now. So
he got a pump of them too.
Yeah,
he carries everything in there too, man. He's got a lot of stuff. I mean, he don't have just paddles and kayak gear. Like, he's got baits and. I mean,
he's got baits. I bought my last NRS came from him. He's my NRS boots came from there. Like, he's got it all.
He's got some whitewater helmets too.
Yeah.
I haven't been over there in a while, but I mean, my office is actually right down the road from his shop. And of course we don't really go in that much anymore. So I haven't been in there in a while, but every time I do go in there, it's like, I just expect to be there for an hour.
Oh yeah.
I just shoot.
Hang that up.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not getting home for dinner tonight, probably.
There's been a couple times where it's been a stretch since I've been out there. And I'll get over there on like a Sunday when he opens up, and then I'll also be there when we close up. Like, well, this day went away from me. But no, man, a good guy. We'll put his information up for everybody. And there you go. Oh man, you need to fish in that thing.
This is for all my dumb buddies too. So, Wolfpack, gang.
Oh my God,
that's great.
Well, again, guys, we appreciate y'all coming on. I won't keep y'all any longer. And good luck, and we'll see you next time.
Cool, man.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks.
And Dan, big thanks to you for coming on. I'm so glad I got to share your shanking yourself story and give you a chance to come on here with me and hang out for a little bit, do a little bit of co-hosting and playing around.
Sure. Hopefully I filled some shoes in okay. So
I mean, you're no Drew, but you're getting there.
I mean,
it's all good, man. Well, greatly appreciate it, and we'll holler at you later, man.
Yeah, man, sounds good. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, moving on from there, we're going to hit that tournament recap stuff that we do every week. So we'll jump right into it. As I mentioned earlier, the Queen City Kayak guys had the Emerald Throwdown on Lake Norman, and they had 110 anglers show up. And for anybody that's never listened to us talk about them, they do a 4-fish limit. They're one of the only clubs that do that. First place was Chris Goodwin with 68.5. Second place, Kyle Yantz with 65.25. Third, Lee Hodge with 64.25. So for 4 fish, that was a pretty tough day. These guys, it's very common for them to have, 80s for their 4-fish limit. Moving on from there, Kayak Anglers of Western Pennsylvania had the Western Classic on. It was a 2-day event. The first day was on the Allegheny River, and the second day was on Lake Willem. So first day, and it was a combination of your 6 fish total. I'm trying to make sure I'm reading this right, how I got it typed in. Yeah, 3 fish limit per day, so 6 fish total. So your day 1 winner was Aaron Ohl with 56.5. Second place, Nate Hall with 54.25. Third place, Ben Simpson with 54.25 as well. Day 2 winners were Chad Claypool with 46, Ed McDonald with 45.75, Seth Willoughby with 45.75, and then the overall winners. First place, Ben Simpson with 98.75. Second place, Seth Willoughby with 97. Third place, Chad Foster with 96.75. So, good numbers day 1. Numbers fell off when they changed bodies of water. So I'd like to know a little more how that went. We might have to have those guys on. Moving on from there, New York kayak bass fishing had the 3 bays tournament: Port Bay, East Bay, and Little Sodas Bay. They had 31 anglers. First place, Jacob Turner with 90.5. Another big limit coming out of New York. Second place, Brandon Lewis with 85.5. Third place, Nathan Yakuza with 82.75. Moving on from there, we had one of the real crazy kayak fishing tour trail stops on Lake Gunnersville. 32 anglers showed up for that one. First place, Russ Vandergriff with 88.75. Second place, Joseph Gayton with 88.5. Third place, Shane Wells with 88.25. Up next, the Missouri Yak Fishing Tournament Series on Stockton Lake. 68 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, Morgan McLean with 81.75. Second place, Chad Davison with 81.75. Third place, Justin Kuhn with 81.25. So again, that was another tough one for a 5-fish day. Next up, we had the Kayak Bass Anglers of Central Arkansas on Lake Nimrod. They had 26 anglers, 5-fish limit. First place, Chris Jones with 92.5. Second place, Jeff Otts with 88. Third place, Johnny Maddox, 83.75. Next up, the Natural State Kayak Anglers, NWA Ace of Blades Beaver Lake Roadrunner. That's a mouthful. 59 anglers. First place, John Wofford with 80.5. Second place, Justin Brewer with 78. Third place, Dwayne Beatty with 77.25. Up next, the Kayak Fishing Utah Bass Tour on Jordanelle Reservoir. 33 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, Aaron Warner, 74.75. Second place, Bill Strong, 72.25. And third place, Casey Vorwaller with 70.5. That's another area you don't hear too much about as the Utah fishing out there, especially kayak fishing. So good to see that club popping up on the radar. Cincinnati Kayak Fishing Flowing Water 2021. It was a statewide tournament in Ohio. Any public launch on river systems in Ohio, Kentucky, or Indiana. So that's a big area. 47 anglers, 3 fish limit. First place, Sean Skidmore with 57. Second place, Joey Stamper with 54.25. Third place, Jake Martin with 53.5. So congrats to those guys. Next up, we had the Styx Live Series in Lincoln, Nebraska. They had a bunch of eligible water. 48 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, Brady Stores with 83.75. Second place, Danny Went with 80.75. Third place, Chung Pham with 80. And last but not least, the Central State Kayak Series, Lincoln Roadrunner. Same waters were eligible. Basically, this is just the folks that double dipped. 26 anglers signed up for this one, 5 fish limit. First place was Chung Pham with 80, who was third from the event before. Second place, Chris Longshore with 79.5. Third place, Bobby Rubeck with 78.25. And a couple of honorable mentions. The Kayak Anglers of Florida, they had a couple of guys get on some good fish. Sean Spears with a 23 and Chris Mitchell with a 23 each. That's 23 is a good fish to talk about. And then the Central Mississippi Kayak Fishing, the winner, Taylor Cochran, caught a nice 24. And to tell you that was a bad day of fishing, that 24 only got him to 49.5 for a total. So it accounted for, right at half of what he ended up with. So it was a struggle, but that's the tournaments for the week. Hope to have another good show next week. Again, as I said, I will not be here next week. I think Drew and Ken and a couple of people will probably be talking about the fantasy fishing, all the updates to everything. Or Drew may throw together something else for y'all. I will be at the beach sipping my cervezas, thinking about all of you lovely people. Let me know in the comments if there's any shows that y'all are going to want to see come off season. I want to start thinking about that now as the tournaments kind of roll down. We kind of transition to what we do. So hit me up. Shoot me a message on Facebook, Instagram, however you follow us, the Paddle and Fin page. Give me some topic ideas, or if you have something interesting you want to talk about, or your club or anything, just get in touch with us. We'll get it on the list for off season or filler shows, and I can just stay in touch with you and you'll make it work. Well, thanks everybody for joining in, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jig Masters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com